In the year 907, Zhu Wen seized the throne and proclaimed himself emperor, founding the Later Liang. The Tang dynasty had fallen, its century of refined governance replaced by the brutal dominance of military power. Yet this was not the restoration of order, but the beginning of a new age of chaos.
In 912, Zhu Wen was assassinated by his third son, Zhu Yugui. The Later Liang court was consumed by endless internal strife. Seizing the opportunity, northern warlords rose in rebellion, opening the curtain on what history calls the Five Dynasties. Later Liang, Later Tang, Later Jin, Later Han, and Later Zhou, 5 regimes in rapid succession, each ruling like shadows, passing through a lantern. In just 53 years, the Central Plains saw 5 dynasties and 11 emperors. On average, a dynasty lasted barely 11 years, and an emperor reigned for less than 5. Meanwhile, in the south along the Yangtze and Huai regions, military governors carved out their own kingdoms. Wu Yue, Southern Tang; Chu, Min, Southern Han; Jingnan, former Shu, and later Shu. Together with the Northern Han in the north, history remembers them as the 10 Kingdoms. Compared with the bloodshed of the north, the 10 Kingdoms of the south enjoyed relative stability. There, the seeds of civilization endured. Society, economy, and culture continued to grow, even on the edge of war. In our last episode, we told the story of the Tang Empire's collapse and the rivalry between the military strongman Zhu Wen and Li Keyong. In the end, Zhu Wen seized the advantage, usurped the throne, and founded the Later Liang. In this episode, we will see how Li Keyong and his son avenged the Tang and destroyed Later Liang to establish Later Tang. How the rivalry between these two great powers evolved into the first 2 dynasties of the Five Dynasties era, and how this turbulent age set the stage for the birth of the Song dynasty.
With the founding of Later Liang, many regional warlords were swept aside by Zhu Wen. Even the once mighty military governors of Weibo and Chengde, powerful strongholds since the mid-Tang, were forced into submission. But had the legacy of the Tang truly disappeared? There was still one man who continued to recognize the Tang as the rightful dynasty, one man whose hatred for Zhu Wen burned above all others: Li Keyong. 23 years had passed since the infamous banquet at Shangyuan Post Station. Li Cunxu was no longer the fiery young warrior of his youth. He had grown into a hardened and calculating warlord, master of Hedong and lord of Taiyuan. In 904, when word reached Taiyuan that Zhu Wen had murdered Emperor Zhaozong of Tang, Li Keyong turned south, fell to his knees, and wept. He swore to avenge the throne, to destroy the traitors and restore the great Tang. In his eyes, he remained a loyal servant of the Tang dynasty, and under that banner, he waged war again and again against Later Liang. By every conventional measure, troops, land, wealth, manpower, Later Liang held the advantage. But Li Keyong possessed something Zhu Wen feared: the legendary 13 Guardians, elite commanders renowned for their ferocity in battle. Foremost among them was his son, Li Cunxu, known in youth as Yazi, a brilliant young warrior of exceptional courage and tactical genius. Time after time, when defeat seemed certain, Li Cunxu struck with daring and unpredictability, breaking Liang armies against all odds. Even Zhu Wen himself could not hide his admiration. To have a son like Li Yazi, Li Keyong need not fear extinction. As for my own sons, they are pigs and dogs. History would prove him right. In 908, only 2 years after the founding of Later Liang, Li Keyong died before fulfilling his ambitions. On his deathbed, he handed Li Cunxu 3 arrows and charged him with 3 final tasks. 1. Defeat Liu Renggong of Youzhou. 2. Subdue the kittens in the north. 3. Destroy Zhu Wen and restore the Tang. Li Cunxu enshrined the arrows in his ancestral temple. Before every campaign, he carried them into battle. After every victory, he returned them in tribute, a solemn reminder of his father's will. And one by one, he fulfilled those commands. He defeated the kittens, captured Yuzhou, then in 915 seized Weizhou and brought all of Hebei under his control. From there, he and Later Liang fought bitterly for dominance across the Yellow River Basin, a brutal struggle that lasted 8 years. By 923, Li Cunxu had gained the upper hand. He proclaimed himself emperor in Weizhou. Because his family had been granted the imperial surname Li by the Tang court, he named his new dynasty Tang. History remembers it as Later Tang. That same year, his armies marched south, destroyed Later Liang, unified northern China, and established the capital at Luoyang. The regime Zhu Wen had built collapsed after just 18 years. Li Cunxu regarded himself not as a conqueror, but as the legitimate heir to the Tang dynasty. He proclaimed a restoration of Tang rule. He honored past Tang emperors with imperial temples. He executed key ministers of the Liang regime, and he purged officials who had aided Zhu Wen's usurpation. For a brief moment, it seemed the Tang might truly rise again, but the dream would not last. After years of relentless warfare, Li Cunxu began to believe he had earned the right to indulge himself. He built lavish palaces, he grew suspicious of his generals, and he surrounded himself with eunuchs and actors. A lifelong lover of theater, he even performed personally on stage under the name Li Tianxia. Li, Lord of all under heaven. His passion for drama soon warped into policy. He elevated actors to high favor, allowed them influence over politics, and alienated the scholar official class. Worse still, he restored the power of the eunuchs, appointing them once more as military supervisors over the regional armies. The generals were outraged. In 926, rebellion erupted in Yecheng. Li Cunxu dispatched Li Siyuan to suppress it, the foremost of the 13 Guardians, adopted son of Li Keyong, and Li Cunxu's sworn elder brother. But when Li Siyuan arrived, the rebel army proclaimed him their leader. He denied involvement. He protested his innocence. But his son-in-law, Shi Jingtang, gave him a blunt warning. Even if you do not rebel, you will not survive. So Li Siyuan marched south. By then, Luoyang stood exposed. As Li Siyuan's forces closed in on the capital, Guo Congtian, a court entertainer long favored by Li Cunxu, suddenly rose in revolt. Flames engulfed Xingjiao Gate as rebel troops surged toward the imperial city. Yet no one came to the emperor's aid. The ministers remained silent. The generals stood aside. The court that Li Cunxu had built had already abandoned him. Amid the confusion and bloodshed, a stray arrow struck the emperor. Left wounded and helpless, Li Cunxu bled to death as his empire collapsed around him. History would remember the tragedy as the Xingjiao Gate Incident. Li Cunxu entered Luoyang, suppressed the revolt, buried Li Cunxu with imperial honors, and soon ascended the throne himself as Emperor Mingzong of Later Tang. For more than a decade, Li Cunxu fought his way across northern China. He won over 100 battles and accomplished what many thought impossible: the destruction of Later Liang and the restoration of a Tang dynasty in name. For a brief moment, he seemed destined to become the savior of the age. Yet the qualities that made him a brilliant conqueror proved ill-suited to ruling an empire. He trusted actors more than ministers, eunuchs more than generals, and suspicion more than loyalty. In the end, the empire he had built collapsed around him. After only 3 years on the throne, he was killed in rebellion. His rise had been extraordinary. His fall was even faster. A lifelong lover of theater, Li Cunxu spent much of his life playing the role of a hero. Perhaps that was why his own story ended like a grand opera: glorious, tragic, and over far too soon.
We've passed the halfway mark. Thanks for being here. Your support keeps me going. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell. It truly makes a difference.